and welcome back to Veloso Tech. The iPhone 15s have arrived. Well, the iPhone 15, the iPhone 15 Plus, the iPhone 15 Pro, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And I'm going to be comparing them today on Apple's website from like for the Pluses, for example, versus last year's. But then, in some cases, we're going to be comparing them over the last 3 years. So from the 13, the 14 and the 15 models. So let's get straight into it. So here we are. The iPhone 13, the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 15. It's the first comparison. So one of the first things you'll probably notice are the colours. But after that, we're going to talk about the colours just in a moment. The new dynamic island on the 15. Until this year, last year was the first year that the dynamic island was actually introduced, but only for the Pro and Pro Max models. But now it's been ported to the 15 and the 15 Plus. Very, very good, very helpful, very improving, very great. So after we finish talking about that, we can say that yes, the iPhone 14 and the 13 still have they had the notch, but the notch was shrunken a bit, should I say, from the 12 to the 13. Anyway, now we see the colours, so you can see all the colour options down here. But one thing mainly about the colours of the new one, that they're a little bit duller. But apart from that, and by the way, I would recommend Product Red a lot. I think Product Red's a really good colour because it donates money to charities and funds to help with very important matters. Because when you buy Product Red, some of the money that you use to buy it is not just going to Apple and wherever you bought it from and other stuffs. It's going to help that charity or fund or organisation or whatever it is. So that's very helpful. I recommend Product Red. Anyway, the Apple logo on the 15, as you can see here, actually now matches just a little bit darker than the actual colour of the phone which you pick. Until now, it's been silver no matter what colour you pick. You can see there. Oops. Yeah, you can see there. Anyway, moving down, we can see the prices because these phones are all currently still for sale. For the 13, it's now at £599, and 14, £699, 15, £799. So just saying, as it says here, starting at, that means that the lowest base model with the least storage you can get, and no like upgrades or anything from the base model, is £599. If you want more storage, then you'll have to go for more than that. So here's a summary. So the phones are all the same in this aspect really, but a new thing that they've added is a colour infused glass back. So it's a different way of getting the colour for the back. And then they all have the ring silent switch and all of that. And yes, Dynamic Island is now here as well. As I just said, that doesn't appear on the 14 or 13, it's only on the 15. And then the 13 and 14 had the same chip. It was the A15, and the 15 now has, the iPhone 15 now has the A16 Bionic chip, which was the chip used in the Pro models for last year. So, we have the camera setups. So the camera setups are exactly the same for the 13 and 14, but moving to the 15, it has an advanced dual camera system with 48 megapixels. So that's 4 times as many megapixels. It's still an ultra-wide camera, but 4 times the megapixels as both the cameras. Well, I think both the cameras were 12, I'm not sure. But anyway, at least one of the cameras on both the old ones was 12 megapixels. And now it's 48, so that's a big improvement. That's very helpful. And now it has super high resolution photo support, 24 megapixels and 48 megapixels. So you can have the standard resolution, which I assume would still be 12, but then you can have the extra high resolutions now. Next generation portraits with focus and depth control as well. And as you can see here for the optical zoom options, it's now got a new optical 2 times zoom option. So it's now got an optical zoom option, not just an ultra wide, but it's also got a zoom. And yeah, you can see the emergency SOS hasn't changed from the 14 to the 15, but from the 13 to the 14 they introduced the emergency SOS via satellite as well, and crash detection, and also roadside assistance via satellite. So that means if you're stuck somewhere on the road with no cellular connection, then you can connect to satellites to do it. So the 13 had 19 hours video playback up to 14, 20, and then 15, the same as the 14. And now this year, Apple are at long last now using USB-C on all of their products. So the 13 and 14, as they had for a long time, since the 5 actually, had Lightning. But now we have USB-C. That's a bit of a problem for some people who may have lots of Lightning accessories. They have my sympathy, having to buy loads of new accessories. But the good news is that they may have accessories for if they have any Android phones or devices, and they now work with the iPhone, so that's good. Now you'll have Face ID, of course. That's what the dynamic island or notch is for. And then we have super fast 5G cellular on all of them, and they all have the same protection. Ceramic shield front, tougher glass, well, tougher than any smartphone glass, aerospace grade aluminium, water resistant to a depth of 6 meters for up to 30 minutes. And we have compatible with MagSafe cases, wallets, wireless chargers, and more we have. So here we're just getting into the capacity options. They're all the same. The displays, I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can read it now if you like. I'll go very slowly. Feel free to pause the video if you'd like to read through this. So we're going to stop there now. So, time for the next comparison. Let me just get to the top of the display. Whoops. Lovely. So, here we have the comparison of the 14 Plus and 15 Plus. You'll see I've also included the 13 Mini, because that is, they changed the other product option from the Mini to the Plus, so I'm including that if you'd like to see that, but I won't be going through that in as much detail as the others. So the 13 Mini has very similar colours to the 13, perhaps the same, and the 14 Plus, same colours as the 14 I think, and the 15 Plus, I think the same colours as the 15, so we've gone through the colours already. And also the fact that on the 15 Plus and 15 we've now introduced a dynamic island to those as well. So the 13 Mini isn't being sold anymore, but of course we're not comparing that very much. So the 14 Plus and 15 Plus, $799 for the 14 Plus, $899 for the 15 Plus, as I said about the starting price. So here's the summary. So, of course the Mini has a very small 5.4 inch display, Super Retina XDR display. They all have that, and the 14 Plus and 15 Plus have the same size displays as the Pro models, the Pro Max models, and we have the 6.7 inch. And of course the 15 Plus again has the new colour infused glass back. I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what that means. I didn't pay too much attention when watching that part of the Apple event, but that's just part of the comparison there. It's just like a new way to get the colour for the back of the phone, as I mentioned. And then of course 15 Plus, dynamic island, as we said. Then the chips are the same as before, so A16 is now from the last Pro model phones, has now been ported to the 15 Plus. And of course, we have the same versus the old ones, 12 megapixel only and ultra wide, but now we have the advanced dual camera system with a 48 megapixel main camera and an ultra wide camera as well as the others. The others are the same. So we have super high resolution photo support now, because instead of just having a 12 megapixel camera, which will be the standard Apple resolution for quite a while, we've now got up to 48 megapixels. So we can have standard 12 megapixels and also 24 and 48 high resolution photos. Super high resolution apparently. Next generation portraits with focus and depth control. And then we have the new support for 2x optical zoom versus the others. And of course the emergency SOS via satellite and crash detection and road assistance via satellite is the same as cable standard for the 14 Plus. And of course, as the 13 mini is a lot smaller, the playback time, the video playback, is not as high. 17 hours, Apple says, and for the 14 Plus, 26, and that's the same for the 15 Plus. And as I said already, by the way, all these ports support USB 2. We have the USB-C port on the 15 Plus now, so Apple have finally switched to USB-C. And we have Face ID on all of them, and that's what the notch or the dynamic island is for. And we all have super fast 5G cellular. And we all have ceramic shield on the front, tougher than any good smartphone glass, and all of that business. That was on the other phones as well. Oh, and also, as I said, water resistant, which is, I think that's good. But I mean, most phones are nowadays a bit water resistant, at least apparently. Water resistant to a depth of 6 meters for up to 30 minutes. And they're all compatible with MagSafe cases, wallets, wireless chargers, and more. So now I'm just going to go through this again. If you'd like to read it, feel free to pause the video. And we're going to stop there. So, for the third out of fourth comparison, here we come. So, now we're getting into the big boys, the pros, the big uns. So, as you'll notice, for the pros, as I already mentioned, the 14 Pro still already had the dynamic island, and now that's on the 15 Pro as well. That was sort of to be expected. The 13 Pro still had the smaller notch there, and the colours for the 14 and 15 Pro and the 13 Pro are very different. You can see those colour options there. And the difference is the 15 Pro now has the revolutionary, incredible titanium. So you've got some titanium based colours here: natural titanium, black titanium, blue titanium, and white titanium. Oops. So, oops again. There we have it. So, the 14 Pro and 13 Pros are not for sale anymore. But, hang on. The 14 Pro not for sale? I didn't know that. Okay. Anyway, so another improvement for the 15 Pro is, as you may see, as they did with the 14 Pro, they've very much thinned out the borders. The bezels, the borders, whatever you want to call them, are a lot thinner now. You can probably see that from the picture here. And the 15 Pro is starting at £999. I was saying pounds here, wasn't I? Sorry, I meant dollars. I'm afraid. I suppose you'll have to translate it into pounds if you live in England or the United Kingdom. Apologies for that. So, the 14 Pro and 15 Pro have the new always-on display, which the 13 Pro didn't have, but they all have the same ProMotion technology and things like that. ProMotion means that it's, again, Apple language. Plenty of Apple language, isn't there? For 120Hz support, and also the ability to scale down the refresh rate when not needing the refresh rate to be that high. So if there was a massive high-tech game that you wanted to play, you probably want that in 120Hz. But then if you were just having the always-on display, for example, then that would only need to be scaled down to a very small amount of hertz. So, of course, the first two, the 13 and 14 Pros, had stainless steel with textured matte glass back, but now we have titanium with textured matte glass back. And now, instead of the ring silent switch, we have the new action button. And then we have, for the 14 and 15 Pro, the dynamic island, as I said. And for the 13 Pro, the A15 Bionic. For the 14 Pro, the A16 Bionic. For the 15 Pro, the A17 Pro chip. Which now has an addition of another core for the GPU, graphics processing unit, I think. So that's a 6th core now, 6 cores now, so that will improve the graphics, and it's also now got support for hardware-based ray tracing. I'm sure a lot of you will know what that is. So basically, I think it's where the rays in games or like scenarios can be much more accurately tracked, so that lighting situations look a lot more professional and a lot more lifelike. So, yeah, that's the new A17 Pro. And as did the 14 Pro, it's still got that 48 megapixel and ultra wide and telephoto lens pro camera system, in brackets triple camera system, more Apple language. I mean, it is rather pro though. So, but the 13 Pro only had 12 megapixels for the main camera, but now the 14 and 15 Pros have 48 megapixels. Big improvements. And since the 14 Pro with the 48 megapixels, we've had super high resolution photos with 48 megapixels. Now we've got support for also 24 megapixel if you don't want to take up too much storage. Yes, I have had that sort of scenario before with my iPad. Yes, sure have. And it has next generation portraits apparently with focus and depth control. I don't really know what the difference is between portrait and next generation portrait, but I suppose we'll find out. And of course the optical zoom options. There's now an option to have the new 2x optical zoom as well as 3x here. So instead of just having the half optical zoom, so that's the ultra wide camera, and having the standard camera for the one times zoom, so basically just normal. And then we also now have, instead of just the 3x zoom after that optical zoom, we have also got 2x optical zoom options. So that will be helpful if you wanted to just get that little spot in the middle of 1 to 3 times. You want to get 2x, there you have it. And of course we have the same roadside assistant via satellite, crash detection and emergency SOS via satellite. And since the 14 Pro, the video playback has apparently not changed, still 23 hours. The 13 Pro had 22 hours. I mean, it won't make much difference, but that's an improvement still from the 13 to the 14. And of course, the 15 Pro now has USB-C, but, oh no, not just regular USB-C. The Pro's USB-C ports support USB 3 for up to 20 times faster transfers. And we have Face ID, that's what the notch/dynamic island is for here. We have super fast 5G cellular, and I've already gone through this protection thing quite a few times. You can see that now, ceramic shield and aerospace grade titanium for the new one. But all there is to note is that, as we've already said, the new one has aerospace grade titanium instead of surgical grade stainless steel. So, they're all compatible, as usual, with MagSafe cases, wallets, wireless chargers, and more accessories. And then you can just look through these little details here if you like. Feel free to pause the video if you want to take a look at these in depth. I'll just go through them a bit here. And we're going to stop there for this. By the way, if you wanted to look any further down the list of comparisons, then you can always visit Apple's website yourself and take a look. Here we have the big boys, the 13 and the 14 and the 15 Pro Maxes. Right, so same sort of colours and stuff, so we don't need to go through that again. Yeah, oops, keep doing that. Oops. know what I'm doing. Right, so same colours as the Pro models for all the phones, Pro and Pro Max, but colours are the same, and baseline and whatever the other option is, depending on whether it's the Mini or the Plus, are also the same colours. And the 15 Pro Max is on sale for $1,199. Sorry again for saying pounds by accident at the beginning, I meant dollars. Apologies for that. And as you can see here, they have again thinned out the borders. From the 13 to the 14 Pro Maxes, they were thinned out, but then now they're even thinner. It's beginning to look a lot better now. A lot easier to see and a lot less, well, dated. Because the borders for these phones started out rather large. I mean, a lot less large than the originals, but still like slightly larger than you'd like if you want to have this sort of next-gen display, as it was called back in 2017. The Infinity display, Samsung called it. So, we have the summary here, and the 13 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max are not on sale anymore, unfortunately. I think they both started at $1,099, so I think the 15 Pro Max has had a $100 price bump. And again, the 15 Pro Max, as it says down here, is also made, by the way, down here I mean here, is also made with titanium. But they all have the same display, apart from the fact that from the 13, the 14 Pro Max, and now the 15 Pro Max 2, have the new always on display. Well, new last year anyway. As I said, the 15 Pros and Pro Maxes now have this new action button, which many phones have had this before. I know of a phone called a BlackBerry D-Tech 50, which had one of these. It was a very helpful way to, if you want to get somewhere, or do an action, complete an action, then you can just hold down or click the button, and you can just do that. I'm sure you can just set it to act like a ring or silent switch as well, or probably anyway. I'm not sure, but you can also have lots of different actions to do with it. And of course, new titanium, as I said, and stainless steel on the old ones. They all have the textured matte glass back. So matte is basically a less shiny, slightly more, very small bumps. Not big ones, just like a very less shiny. So less like the display on the device that you're watching this on right now, and more like a display. No, not a display. More like a more grippable and less shiny and clear texture. Anyway, moving on. So the dynamic island and the 14 and 15 Pro Maxes, of course, gone through that already. And the A15 and 16 and then 17 Pro, gone through that as well. The 6-core GPU now, instead of a 5-core, that is 6-core graphics processing unit. And we have the 16-core neural engine, which is standard. And then we also have, this doesn't say here, but I know that, the 15 Pro Max chip, the A17 Pro, now supports the good old hardware-based ray tracing. Very helpful. I went through what that was in the last comparison. And then moving down to the Pro camera system. They all have the Pro camera system, but as we've covered already, instead of just having a 12 megapixel main ultra-wide and telephotos, we have the 48 megapixel, as we did on the 14 Pro Max. But now we have new support for 24 megapixels and 48 megapixels. Super high resolution photos, so not just 48 megapixels. And since the 14 Pro Max, we've still had this 2x zoom option. I don't think we had that for the 14 Pro, but the 14 Pro Max, it looks like we've already had this here, and we've got it again on the 15 Pro Max. But there's another thing you'll notice. The 15 Pro Max now has a brand new 5x optical zoom. And that'll be very helpful. Very helpful. So quite a high level of optical zoom when you think about that. I mean, many old devices literally had 2 times digital zoom, and that was it. I mean, now they have 5x optical zoom. Oh, that's very good, isn't it? And then Emergency SOS also via satellite now since the 14 Pro Max, and crash detection and roadside assistance via satellite. And as we did on the 14 Pro Max, we've bumped it up to 29 hours, another solid hour of video playback, apparently, through Apple's testing, I would assume. It used to be 28 on the 13 Pro Max, now it's 29. And we have USB-C again, supports USB 3 for up to 20 times faster transfers. I assume that's comparing it to USB 2 speeds. So we used to have the Lightning port, but now we have USB-C, which is good. Well, as I mentioned earlier, unless you have lots of Lightning accessories, but hopefully you may also have a few USB-C accessories to use with a computer or a phone or a tablet or anything else, any charging accessories, anything like that. So you might already have some leads for that, so that's good. Face ID, of course, that's what the notch or Flash Dynamic Island is for, and superfast 5G cellular, and ceramic shield front for protection, tougher than any smartphone glass, surgical grade stainless steel, for water resistant to a depth of 6 meters for up to 30 minutes. I'm sorry I'm going so quickly, it's just because I mentioned it already earlier back. Compatible with MagSafe cases, wallets, wireless chargers, and more. And then we have the rest of it. The small text things, the capacity, the display. Feel free to read through this, pause the video if you like. So this is just everything in a little more detail, like the contrast ratios, the true tone display, and things like that. So let's stop there. Let's just finish on a high note again. Lovely. So you may have noticed a change of scene. Before I was in another room, and now I'm in this room. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was very helpful. Feel free to check out on Apple's website the rest of the comparison. I was just explaining it all to you and saying all of the important parts, the highlights. So I was just explaining about all the new features, really, comparing to the old models. So as I said, I hope this video is informative and helpful. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!